Improvisation in 10 Days is a title that came up because it's been a while that I have been thinking, how can we approach an exhibition as an improvisation session? And when I got the invitation to HangarBicocca, the space in itself was for me like an ideal playground for improvisation. You see the volumes, the light, the heights were like a unique opportunity to dive into an exercise like this. Then also the team had an experience of that space, had an experience of working on projects of that scale. And I felt also in confidence with the team of HangarBicocca of being able to improvise, because for me, improvisation is a high art, you see, and you need to be in mastership of your craft, of your knowledge to be able to perform it somehow. The exhibition at HangarBicocca is a sequel for me. The way I saw it is the culmination and the end point of a sequel of exhibitions that started with the SMAC in Ghent, and from there went to the Cube in Bregenz and ended up here in HangarBicocca. And in this, I chose for Bregenz 3 specific works that were Water's Witness on one side, then the rain, and Souffle Continu, that is coming mainly from within my project on sound and deafness. Souffle Continu is, first of all, like an ensemble of wind instruments that work together, where the central pieces are the organ within, which is like an organ I developed for deaf and hearing people to play together on my project within that I've been doing since 2013, on which deafness becomes an expertise in relating to sound outside of the ears, relating to sound as materiality, as vibration, as a multisensorial experience that one can perceive through the body, through touch, through the bones, the eyes, sign language, and not just channeled through the ears and the phonic aspect of sound. In addition to the organ within, there is another instrument from that series that is initially was called the sub-bass prototone. It's an invention by Johannes Goebel, and I wanted to revisit this idea. So the ideas of wind houses came. They are giant flutes, again, but made out of glass, made out of different materials that one can enter and play from inside. They are architectures that are not meant for human being to be inside, but for sound to be inside first of all, then the human being find its place within them. Water's Witness is another long project I started around 2013. Where I started visiting cities that were initially harbor, that became today like capitals or notorious megalopoles or international hubs. I've been visiting these harbors and recording over there, not only the harbor, but the surrounding of the harbor. And since 2013, I think I've done around maybe 10 cities like Athens, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, Beirut, Istanbul, Porto, Sydney. In each place, like I started to build this collection of sounds and archive, but also a collection of materials that I found in harbors or around the harbors that had sound in them in interesting ways. So for example, the marbles I'm sitting on and that we have here in the space are part of a very large ensemble, but they come from Athens and from an experience where we recorded sound in the temple of Demeter, close to the harbor of Elefsina. And the last element that adds up to this is the rain. The rain is a revisiting and homage to the tradition of Korean percussion, the tradition of drumming, of drum making, but revisited in a way where we kind of try to move away and beyond the idea of hitting a drum strongly and violently, and think how else can we pull out sound from a drum. The rain came as the result of a collaboration with Mr. So, who is like a national treasure in Korea, an amazing person who does like drums at the highest level and the highest mastership, working with natural skins and wood and ropes and natural elements in a way I had never seen before. The Rain is about 50 examples of different drums and instruments we created. And when they all work together, they produce a sound of rain, of shimmering, of like a lot of things that are crisp and making like a watery dripping sound, percussive, delicate sound. And the way I thought about putting the three together was not only putting sounds and sonorities together, but also materialities. What I liked a lot about the show here and the approach we had is the connections that appear between the marble and the skins, for example, the connections that appear between the sounds of water dripping and the sounds of instruments blowing, and all these elements kind of merging together in a way that for me I was quite looking for and quite surprised with, you know, like when you improvise, sometimes you get good surprises, and I had several of these on this experience and show. I was never trained as a classical musician. You see, I grew up in Beirut, and like I started sound studies at the age of 20. And what I studied is like more like a contemporary sound, electroacoustic sound and sound art as a discipline, closer to the schools of Cage and Ligeti and Xenakis. There was from an early stage for me an interest in both performance and education. When I learned electroacoustic music and contemporary music, I immediately thought of how can we perform it? How can it be live? How can it be improvised? And how I could use computer technology and computer programming to improvise with musicians and people who had a virtuosity of playing drums, of playing saxophone, a variety of instruments I was curious in. The notion of education was quite important to me, because I wanted also to share what I learned with people who didn't have the chance to get access to these things that I found beautiful and sensitive, and where I felt that anybody can do music, anybody can improvise, anybody can experiment with sound as long as they listen, or they open up their mind and they open up their curiosity to go towards sound. If there is something I would recommend people to do when they come to this space, it's the idea of like taking the time to be here. There's a composition that is long, that is changing all the time. If you spend time in that space, you will always hear new things or hear them differently. And I hope that after visiting a show like this, people will feel that they can also do sound in ways I do, and that it is very possible to understand the world around us and the objects that surround us and the materials that surround us, not just from looking at them, but also from listening to them.